I'm Associate Professor of Comparative Literature at Cornell University, which is in upstate New York. Currently, I'm at the Africa Institute as a Senior Fellow in Ali Mazrui Global Studies Fellowship. So in a nutshell, I'm an expert, I'm a scholar of gender, sexuality, and race with a focus on film, literature, and new media materials. You know, Professor Ali Mazrui was a comparatist. At the University of Binghamton, he was a professor of comparative literature. And like Ali Mazrui, I have an expansive understanding of human beings. So that means that I take human beings not only in their diversity by looking at the different languages in which human beings express themselves and produce cultural artifacts, but also I look at the uniqueness of those cultural artifacts in human beings, because languages are both common as means of communication, but they're also unique because they translate unique worldviews, unique principles, and unique understandings of human nature. So Professor Mazrui's expansive and transversal look at cultural artifacts is something that my own research and teaching aligns with. So it was really a privilege to be able to come to the Africa Institute of Sharjah and to contribute to his legacy, because it's a legacy that all of us in the U.S. Academy benefited from. So it's a privilege as a comparatist to be named as a fellow after a comparatist who has done tremendous work, not only in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, but also in the African world, both in the United States, in Africa, and beyond. Let me start by saying that the Institute supported my research in a material sense by allowing me to have the space and the time, allowing me to, to take time away from teaching and to concentrate uniquely on the writing of my pleasure book. So that's the material dimension of it. It also gave me a tremendous amount of intellectual enrichment. For example, the weekly seminars, they were both fellows and faculty, but also, let me say it, the visitors and the different conferences that were being put together. I received more than I can have expected. I received more than I bargained for. And it was both exciting, it was thrilling, it was challenging at times, which is always welcome. But I think in a nutshell, I gained more than I expected. So my intellectual makeup is one of transversality, of horizontality. So to come to the Africa Institute and see that same level of expansiveness applied to the African continent was not something that I expected. For example, I learned about archaeology, either practiced in the Ghanaian context or in the Sudanese context. I learned about cultural artifacts from Ethiopia or from the Congo. I learned from historians, I learned from sociologists, I learned from linguists, I learned from international relations and political scientists. Although I was aware of all these disciplines, but the exchange that I had with them allowed me to be a little bit more refined in the methods that they were deploying in their own disciplines. As long as scholars deem that there are questions to be asked, as long as societies continue to think and produce and to live, they always have something to offer the world. And it's intellectuals and scholars' task to probe those societies, to probe the cultural products, and to tell something about the world, about themselves. So it's a two-way street. So African studies will continue to be relevant as long as these societies live, as long as they produce cultural artifacts, they will be worth studying. Be ready, be open to be enriched. Because I don't think one can come to Sharjah, one can be at the African Institute and be exposed to the diversity of scholars, to be exposed to the diversity of disciplines, and to be exposed to all of the cultural elements that Sharjah has to offer, and go back the same.